We're judging the world and saying what sucks. We're reviews versus the world.
What's the minimum threshold of boobage that makes it so you can't watch the show?
Anything more than in Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
I still have not seen that show, so I have no context.
I've heard decent things, but I haven't seen it.
Mrs. Maisel is one of the best shows ever.
I've heard it so good, and I don't know why. It just hasn't made it on my eyeballs.
Imagine if they took all the good things from Gilmore Girls and made it into a show that I would watch.
Yeah.
Because it's Amy Sherman Palladino.
Oh.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. It's all the good things you like about Gilmore Girls, but made palatable for me.
I was going to say, they already did a show like that. It was called Pushing Daisies.
Oh,
that's true.
I love Pushing
Daisies. Yeah.
So good.
Brady's heart just skipped a beat.
Oh,
me too.
Yeah, Kristen Chenoweth makes, whenever she sings or whenever she's just on screen, I float like Bugs Bunny when he smells carrots.
She's so good. She's so good live,
she's so
too.
Great. Yeah, I should have gone and seen her, but I was worried I would be like, "Hey, have my babies!"
So
I was like, "No."
John, you really need to watch the second season of Trial and Error.
Oh, I love Trial and Error so much.
I don't know if I've heard of it.
So Trial and Error, it's a mockumentary kind of formatted a little bit like
The Office.
Courtroom documentary.
Yeah.
And each season is a different client, a different case.
Right.
And so, like, the first season is John Lithgow, and it is amazing.
So
he
funny.
Is so hilarious.
Yeah.
And then the second season is Kristen Chenoweth, is the client. So, it's great.
Put it on my list.
And their office is by a taxidermist. Is he actually in their building, or is he next door?
He's in a taxidermy office.
Yeah. He's so funny.
Oh, it's so great. It's so great.
You know what else is great? Podcasting!
I can hear Steven boiling over.
We've been sitting here for 40 minutes trying to get dogs and kids under control, and some jerk kicked the whole thing off by being 15 minutes late because he went out to dinner with his parents. That idiot is dumb and probably deserves to get married in a week. Hi, everybody!
Oh my gosh.
What a funny boy you are.
It's the Reviews versus the World podcast. We're here to review things in the world and fight them. What's the versus part of our name for?
I don't know. I just thought it was cool, okay?
So, my name is Stephen Bradford, and we got a bunch of people here with us tonight. We are joined by, of course, Brady. Hello, Brady.
Hi.
And we got Emily.
Hi.
And we've got Nathan.
Hello.
And John.
I couldn't decide between the Animal House greeting of John Crowder, Rush Trammon, damn glad to meet you, or Trading Places when he's like, Billy Ray, Capricorn, Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn. My brain shorted out and couldn't choose in that moment.
You do realize just how low of a bar we set for you, right? Like, you didn't have to do much to just go over it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, seriously, you were thwarted by having too many quips in mind.
Yeah. It's a crutch, or it sure is a thing. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's
so
talk.
why don't we start the way that we always start by I don't know, just like talking about what we've been into for the last month or whatever.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
why don't we go in the order that I tried to introduce everyone in? Brady.
Okay. All right, so I have been into quite a few things, and you're probably going to be able to guess that, yes, there's a TV show on there, yes, there's a lot of games on there, because I, indeed, am Brady Flanagan.
I will literally pass a brick out of my system if one day you're like, I went to the opera the other day, and I'm really into it.
Well,
or if you're like, went to the rodeo down in Utah.
But I did go to the Muse concert last month, and it was so good. It was
I
amazing.
bet that was fun.
I think you got to put $1 in the jar now that you've said that. Go on.
Anyway, but so the show that I've been into, it's this lovely show on Netflix, but it's actually carried by some just unknown network, like Pop TV, I think is what it's called. But it's Schitt's Creek.
Oh my gosh, Brady! That's one of my favorite shows!
Oh, I love it so much.
David? I'm gonna send you
David
this.
is the best.
Okay, but no, I have to send you, all of you, I will just send it to you, these clips that people are making of Alexis saying, David? It's I can't stop watching it. It's so good.
Oh, it's
anyway,
so good.
Continue,
but
please.
Anyways, so if you don't know what it is, it's a little bit Arrested Development-esque, where you have these rich people who suddenly are not rich anymore and are thrust into a situation where, you know, they have to deal with all these poor people and how are they supposed to handle it? But let me just go over some of the members of this cast. Eugene Levy,
So good.
Catherine O'Hara,
So good.
Dan Levy,
So good.
who is Eugene Levy's son, and he is the highlight of the entire show.
He's
playing
so good.
David. Chris Elliott. So there's a lot of really, really, really funny people on this show, and it is amazing. It is hilarious. Go and watch it, and you will love it. And I can't believe that I haven't watched it up until this point.
I think my favorite character on that show is Annie Murphy as Alexis, but I have opinions. Go.
Alexis is great, too. Alexis is great. And then for some video games, I have, here's the thing. Whenever Nintendo does a Nintendo Direct or a Nindies Direct or anything like that, I always come into watching it going, okay, fine, I have my wallet open. What are you going to drop on me today? So that I go and I buy it immediately, because that's the kind of schmuck I am. And so with that, I have been playing a lot of Final Fantasy IX.
I love that game.
It's great. And this is really the first time that I have played more than an hour or so of it, because the start of Final Fantasy IX is so slow. And, I really don't like Zidane. I don't like the main character.
I have to ask, Brady, how much time do you spend jumping rope?
What do you mean?
In Final Fantasy IX.
Oh, I thought we were going to talk about his real life.
I was
I was looking forward to a deep
Yes,
dark secret.
jumping rope as
Right.
Vivi in the beginning.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
I usually spend about 10 minutes just seeing what I can do with it. It's fun. But I really enjoy it. I don't like Zidane, but I love Vivi. I love Freya. Yeah, basically Vivi and Freya are just my absolute favorites. Just everything about them, I love them. I love the battle system. I love the way that you learn the abilities, just based on your equipment and then having those skill slots. It's great. I very much enjoy it.
I gotta say, this time through, I've been playing it also fairly recently. I've really liked Steiner.
Oh, yeah, Steiner's
Yeah,
great.
Steiner's like the stuffy palace guard, but he just seems like this decent guy, and he, is very sort of, he's like straight man Javert from Les Mis, but he has his own moments of, unintentional comedy as well. He's a pretty delightful dude.
The relationship between him and Beatrix is just so great.
Oh yeah,
I
that
love
stuff's pretty great.
That's one of my favorite things about it. But so playing Final Fantasy IX got me in a very much Final Fantasy mood, and then I looked on the Nintendo eShop and I saw that World of Final Fantasy Maxima was on sale for really pretty cheap, so I had to get it, and I've been enjoying it. It's basically a celebration of all things Final Fantasy, but it very much has a chibi art style, so, big eyes, short, deformed characters and whatnot. But just seeing all the little classic Final Fantasy enemies and characters coming into the story, it's been pretty enjoyable. I've enjoyed it.
Cool.
But I have also been playing a few indie games. So I've been playing Ape Out. You guys heard of this one?
No.
No.
I'm assuming it has monkeys in it.
It does.
Good.
So basically, what it is you play as this gorilla who's trying to escape from, he's like you start out the game. The game is very, very stylized. Just the visuals are very stark. They're simplistic, but like dark contrasting colors. And you start and you're in this cage. And you see these other cages with apes who have died, so you're in some sort of research facility, and then you just throw open the door, and really all that the game is you have two things that you can do. You can grab, which includes like grabbing enemies, and then they'll shoot each other. They like get one shot off, and you can push. And so, but the great thing about this game is the music is so amazing, because it's all designed around like jazz drum, and they have it so that the soundtrack is dynamic. So like as you hit someone, then you have this perfectly placed cymbal crash. As you push them into a wall and they explode into a big pile of blood, because that's what happens in this game. It's very, very, very bloody. But it's so satisfying. Just go and watch a video of it, and you'll see what I mean, because it's all awesome. The music is great, and that's really what makes it. And it's just a lot of fun. It's challenging, and just the little visual things that they do. Like they have kind of that Grindhouse-esque title cards popping up on the screen. And, just like all of the text, everything is just so stylish. It's awesome. Check it out. Also, I have been playing Baba Is You.
Ooh.
Uh-huh.
Which is a weird game that is very satisfying and infuriating and then satisfying again. So it's a puzzle game where it's basically you have this grid system. And in the little boxes in the grid, you'll see words, and so like you'll see next to each other, Baba is you, and that means that you're controlling this character, Baba, who is walking around. But you'll also have things that say stuff like wall is stop, so that means I can't go through the wall. That wall's going to stop me. But the genius of this game comes in the fact that what you're doing is you are manipulating those rules by pushing those words around. And so you see wall is stop, you just push stop out of the way and you can go right through the wall. You push flag into where Baba is, and suddenly you're the flag instead of Baba. You say Baba is flag, all of a sudden Baba turns into a flag. And it goes really deep, and there are times when you have like 20 words, and they also have the words so that they'll be stuck in certain spots. So you have to really think about how you're going to push things to where you want to get them, and there will be times when you can't change some of the rules that are out there. But it's so clever in just how it really makes you think. And it makes me realize that my children are geniuses, because Emma is awesome at this game.
Yeah.
And it requires like literally out of the box thinking. You have to completely change your perspective. And like for example, this is just a small example, really, in one of the really early puzzles, where you have this river of lava that's going right through the middle of the level, and you see lava is hot and lava is melt. So if you try to go into that, you're going to melt. Also, if you move something away from is you, then and you don't do it by pushing something into it to replace whatever you were, then you automatically lose, because you don't have a rule of what you control anymore. But it has a very you can just push a button and go back a step. So it's crazy. Just check out this game. But like the lava one, I've seen like 10 different ways of doing that one. The way that I did it is you have one that says rock is push. So I moved that push over to lava, so it says lava is push. So then I just push right through the lava, just push it to the side, and walk right through and get the flag to win. Baba Is You is crazy. If you at all like puzzle games, and you like to be frustrated by puzzle games only to realize the stupid solution that was staring you in the face the entire time as you sat there for 45 minutes going, I have no idea what I'm supposed to do here, then Baba Is You is definitely for you. And it's $15. It's on the Switch and also on Steam. So,
Sorry, what is it called again?
Baba Is You.
Baba Is You. Okay.
Baba Is You. And then Nintendo went and they had another presentation this week, a Nindies Direct.
Oh my gosh. Yep.
And so I had to, go and open up my wallet as I start watching. I'm like, okay, fine, Nintendo. What are you going to get me to spend money on today? And they had a lot of really cool announcements. I mean, right out of the gate, Cuphead announced for Switch, which that is insane
nice.
Because this is a Microsoft property. Like, this is fully owned by Microsoft and Xbox, and they want it on the Switch. But there's been a lot of rumors, a lot of talk that Microsoft is going to start bringing more games to the Switch. Like, expect the Halo Master Chief Collection to come to the Switch, sort of thing. Which it's a weird time to be living. That's all I can say there. And so, of course, I pre-ordered Cuphead. It's sitting there waiting for April 18th for me to be able to play it, because if you haven't seen that game, it is one of the coolest art styles I've ever seen in any game ever. It looks
old-timey rubber hose animation. It's way cool.
Yeah,
it's
I
really
follow one of the artists online. It's really cool stuff.
But then they end the Direct by having this character from this game, Crypt of the Necrodancer, which I've heard of before, and I've heard that it's great. It's a lot of fun. And they have this character, but it's, more 16-bit, and, she's just talking and bouncing along to the rhythm, and then all of a sudden Zelda music starts up. And this indie studio is making a Zelda rhythm game that's kind of a sequel to Crypt of the Necrodancer. So I'm like, fine, I'll go and finally play Crypt of the Necrodancer. So I went, I downloaded it, and it is a lot of fun. Basically, the way that Crypt of the Necrodancer works, it's a roguelite. In other words, it's randomly generated. You try to get loot. You can get permanent upgrades, but you're just trying to get through this dungeon. You're trying to get through this crypt. And everything that you do, you need to do in time to the beat, in time to the music. So, you jump, 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 stab, jump, jump, throw, now, jump, jump.
One hop this time. 2 hops this time.
Really. So you really have to pay very close attention, and it gets to be a lot of fun, and I enjoy it. So I would highly recommend that one as well. Other than that, I finished school this week.
Woo!
Awesome.
Yes!
Woo!
Amazing you found the time between games.
Between games, and then the final thing that I'm going to talk about that I've been into, I've been writing a lot of music, guys.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
A lot of freaking music. And mostly it's all been for 1D10 the show. I've decided I want to have themes for each of the characters. And so, I've been trying to find different styles. I've been posting them on Facebook. If you go to the 1D10 the show YouTube channel, you'll see I actually put all of these things on there as well. Or if you follow me on Facebook, then hey, you can find it there with my little explanations of why I composed each of the themes the way that I did. But what I've been working on now is I'm turning each of those themes, because really it's only like a 16 to 32 measure little ditty that I can have kind of in the background when the character's having a moment that's, specifically them. It really shows their character. But now I'm taking all those and I'm actually turning them into full songs. I've been working actually on John's character, Akula, on his full song lately, and I've come up with some pretty cool stuff where, as you listen to it, you can kind of feel the imagery that I'm going for of, him getting up in the morning and getting ready and sparring a little bit with his teammates, having some fun, and then enemies attack, and oh no, everything's crazy, but then Akula steps up and just dispatches all of them.
Yeah, like he does.
And so that's been a lot of fun, and then I've actually, because we're about to finish our second arc and move on to the third arc, and so I wanted to have a theme also for the next arc, so I actually sent John an early version of it, but it's pretty cool. I'm very excited for it. So, yeah, that's what I've been into.
All right, cool. Emily.
Okay, so I, at the behest of many people in my life, finally saw Into the Spider-Verse.
I wonder who those people were.
Good.
They sound
pretty
handsome.
It was also my boss at work.
Very
Every day he was like, "Have you seen Spider-Verse yet? Have you seen Spider-Verse yet?" And I'm like, calm down. Didn't actually say that because it's my boss and I don't want to get fired. And I saw Teen Titans go to the movies, which was
I love that
very
movie,
cute.
too. Yeah.
That upbeat, inspirational song about life, sung by Michael Bolton, gives me life.
Uh-huh.
I love Michael Bolton a lot.
And then when they hit him with the car,
oh my gosh,
run!
that was too funny. Both of those movies.
But hold on. What
Yeah.
did you think of Spider-Verse?
It was good.
Yeah.
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 That's it?
I knew it was going to be I don't know. I wasn't I'm gonna hate this movie because that's a superhero movie. I didn't go into it like that.
Well, that's a good thing,
what
'cause you would have
It was
been
fine.
wrong.
It was good.
That's good.
I would have been wrong. You are correct. And then I don't think I talked about it last time because I must have seen it the day after or something. But I saw the second Lego movie.
Oh my gosh, I have so many thoughts about that movie.
I liked it a lot.
I love it.
I liked it a lot more. Okay, let me preface this. I didn't think I would dislike it. I just kind of thought I'd be maybe slightly-ish, maybe kind of sort of disappointed because the first one was much better than I ever thought it was going to be, and so I didn't know if it would meet it, but the second movie was really good. It was really cute.
I thought the first
And
one
I'm ready
was
for the Lego game to come out.
Yeah,
What?
The first one was my favorite of the two. I still thought Lego Movie 2 was great. It was way fun, but I still like the first one better.
But I think it just sets up so much in order for the second movie to be what it is. You know what I mean? Which is the case in a lot of things, I'm sure.
Honey, where are my pants?
Still the best. Okay, and then I've been watching a lot of HBO documentaries recently just because I saw one or two that I'm like, this is pretty good, so I've just been watching all of them, basically, or all the ones that interest me.
So what's your thoughts on Michael Jackson these days?
I did not watch that, and I won't watch it for reasons.
Yeah.
So I've watched a couple that have been on there for a long time, Boy Interrupted was a really interesting one, which talks about this child who has some... We end up finding out that he's bipolar, and it kind of just shows him through his life and his family talking about him and everything that happened with him. It's really good. And then there was this other documentary that I found really interesting called Thin, which was about a number of women in an eating disorder facility and just kind of how they're going through that. So I found that very interesting. But then there are two that just came out pretty recently on HBO that I loved. One of those it's called The Inventor Out for Blood in Silicon Valley, which is, it's a single documentary. It's not a documentary series. And it tells the story of Elizabeth Holmes, who founded a company called Theranos. And her ultimate goal was to basically make a device that if you took a single pinprick of somebody's blood, that it could run 200 plus tests for them and help them find out whatever they need to about their own bodies. You know what I mean? And it sounds like this really, really great idea, but then you see all the stuff that went wrong behind the scenes, and is she a crook? Is she not? Does she actually believe in it? It's very interesting.
Huh.
Interesting. That
And
sounds
then-
cool.
No, it's super cool. And she's got... You just have to watch it and let me know what you think. If it's the first thing that I thought of, it'll probably be the first thing you think of because it's abundantly obvious. Look at her face and just watch it and tell me what the first thing you think of is. Anyway, it's vague. You'll get it when you watch
it or when we see her face.
Okay, so I can't even explain it because it will ruin it. Just watch it. Trust me. That's all.
Okay.
I'll be annoyingly vague, and you guys can hate me. I don't care. And then the second one that's I've been interested in is there's this So it started out as a podcast, a serial podcast, the podcast called Serial, about Adnan Syed, who was convicted of the murder of his girlfriend. And now there's this HBO documentary series that's 3 episodes. Only 2 episodes have aired so far. The 3rd and final episode will be this Sunday. About, he has a family friend that's been fighting for him to get his case reopened and all this kind of stuff. And so all these different bits of evidence, kind of from both sides, have been talked about at length in this documentary. And it's been pretty interesting to kind of make your own speculations about, did he really do it? Did he not?
Right.
So that's been pretty good. I've played a couple of games recently, but only a couple of times. A friend of mine has a VR. And so we've been playing... so we were over there, I think last weekend? Maybe it was last weekend. We played a game called I Expect You to Die, which
No,
is...
Mr. Bond.
That was awesome.
Yeah. It's a spy
Exactly.
game.
Like, there's no
puzzle game.
way that's not intentionally like a James Bond sort of thing.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, it totally is. It totally is. And I love it. I don't think this is what we've talked about before. Maybe we have. If we have, I'll go into it briefly. But basically, it's a spy game. You're trying to accomplish these tasks, but it's basically kind of like in the first level, for example, you're in a car, you're trapped in a car, and outside the car is in like a trailer or something. And outside the car, there's all this gas and stuff. And so you have to try to find a way to escape. So you have to find a way to get the car started and make sure that you don't run into any obstacles inside of the car that are going to make you blow up, and you can't roll down the windows and try to just walk out because the gas will kill you, you know what I mean? So there's all these different various things that you have to try to do to escape, and there's all kinds of ways that you can do it. It's super fun. And because it's in VR, you can physically, see it like you would a virtual reality thing. And it's interesting watching, because I played it with my husband and our friend, and it's interesting to see how different people think differently.
Right.
When you're playing that game to try to figure out how to escape.
Right.
So that's a lot of fun. And then there's another virtual reality game called Beat Saber, which is just a rhythm game. It's so fun. I was like, lightsabers? Cool. And I'm really bad at it because like I said, I've only played it twice, and every time we've played it, I did not remember to bring my contacts over, so I've had to take my glasses off, and I'm pretty blind. I can only see clearly, like, I don't know, maybe 5 inches in front of me, not even that. So I still even have to squint, even though the screen's right in front of my face, to see what I'm doing. That might not be the reason I'm bad at it, but I'm pretty bad at it.
It's so good. Oh, I love it.
That sounds awesome.
And I've probably watched a million other things, but the only thing that's important is that after this podcast, and probably into tomorrow, I'll be watching the OA Part 2, and that's just really all that matters. So thanks for letting me bore you guys for a minute. That's me.
All right. So I think, Nate, you're up now, right?
Yes, I think so. I have a lot of things, but some of them are just like experiences that I did, so I don't need to talk a lot about them. But there are a couple things I'm going to talk about. I might have mentioned this in another podcast, but I'm really into this comic book called The Sixth Gun. Mm-hmm. And have you heard about it?
Yes.
And
from you, I just remember you mentioning it. Yeah.
Yeah, and so what it is it's a Western, but it's supernatural. And there's these 6 guns that have different powers. Like, one allows you to see into the future. One will give you eternal youth as long as you kill people with it. So they all have different things. Well, if you have all 6 guns together, then you can basically destroy the world and start over with you as the supreme being or whatever. And the good guys have 5 of the guns. But there's the main bad guy, like his wife has the one that will, as long as she kills people, like she stays young. So she has that one, so she's never really killed off. But it's such a fun comic book to read. It's so good. So I went and saw, next topic, I went and saw that movie Fighting with My Family. It's about a family of wrestlers.
Good?
Did you guys see it?
I want to so bad.
So it was so good, right? And so
Awesome.
I was like, oh man, I want to see like what, because I was like, oh, I wonder if they have fake wrestling on Hulu, because I wanted to see like the real girl that the movie's about.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, that guy Elliot's my son. He got Elliot and me like watching a lot of fake wrestling. If you go on Hulu and you look up WWE, you'll find like hundreds and hundreds of shows about wrestling.
Yeah.
And you know, everybody's like, oh, it's fake and stuff, but like they're really athletic, and I mean, it's a show. You know, I mean, the outcome might be predictable or whatever, but they're actually jumping off the ropes and like slamming into each other and stuff like that. So we've been having fun with that. The next thing is Elliot is old enough to where he's been wanting to play Rock Band. And so he's actually really good at the drums with it, really good. And so he's been doing that, and I play the guitar, and like the other day we did a playlist of 20 songs, and my hand was sore and his ankle was sore from the pedal.
Did you have blisters on me fingers?
I got blisters on
Some
my
my fingers. I love the White Album, guys. Seriously. And then the next thing is Utah has a minor league football team called the Stallions. Mm-hmm. And what they do is they start 1 week after the Super Bowl, and they have 10 weeks, and then they do 2 games as a playoff and then 1 championship game. So we're called the Salt Lake Stallions, and our record isn't very good, but my friend and I decided to buy season tickets because there's only like 5 home games, and they worked out to be like $5 a game.
Oh, score.
Yeah, so but they're really, really fun. There's a few different rules, like they don't have a kickoff when it's the other turn. Like they start on the 25-yard line, and like when you score a touchdown, you can't kick a point after touchdown. You have to go for 2 points every time. There's just like a lot of little things. Oh, and the best is like if you're watching a game on TV that's being broadcast, they only have 1 commercial, and you see the video up in the corner of what's going on at the football game for like a timeout or whatever, and they only have the 1 commercial, and then they're back to playing. So like instead of a game lasting 4 hours to watch, they have it down to like 2 hours and 20 minutes instead. Huh. So, and they play the same amount of time, it's just faster because of the commercial rush.
Yeah.
So that's cool. I didn't know the Utah Symphony did this. Like, I've gone by Abravanel Hall, and I've seen Abravanel Hall, Utah Symphony plays the music of Raiders of the Lost Ark or something. So I always thought that it was just they got the movie score and they just played it as a concert. I had no idea that they actually showed the film.
Oh, yeah.
And when the music starts up, the symphony plays the music. And so anyway, I had a good friend who was having a birthday party, and we all went and saw Casablanca at the Utah Symphony, and
fun.
it was really cool. I play Red Dead Redemption a lot. That's my video game. It's just really cool. If you can't tell, I love like westerns and spaghetti westerns and stuff. Have you guys ever played Dice Masters before? Ever heard of Dice Masters?
Is that the collectible dice game?
Yeah, it's like a deck building game, but you have dice.
I've heard of it. I've not ever played it though.
Yeah, it's really a lot of fun. Like you just start out with 8 dice that are like generic, and you use those, and you buy dice from whatever characters you've chosen, and they all have dice. I mean, I bet you I have 500 different dice for the game.
Wow.
Just because when you collect them, there's like a whole lot, and it switches things up really, really well. Like, because every character is different that you play with. It's like building your own magic deck, I guess, where you're going for a certain thing or whatever. But it's way fun. And I've been playing Battle Chef Brigade on the Switch.
I've played a little bit of that. That one's pretty good.
It's so much fun. It's like Master Chef with anime. Like, anyway, it's a really, really fun game. I've been having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, that's what I've been into.
All right. Cool. John, you're up.
Nothing at all. Let's go. No, I was thinking I don't really have a whole lot. I was like, what's been going on? I was like, I perfected my key lime chicken recipe. That's pretty good.
Oh.
That's not bad.
The trick is to add a roasted red pepper sauce, and it cuts through the liminess of the limes beautifully, and it's a gorgeous presentation as well. But we're not talking about that. That's not nerdy. That's for everyone. We're talking about niche stuff, weird stuff like movies. I saw Free Solo this week.
Okay.
And I'm still terrified of heights. Still will never go rock climbing. And certainly never climb up El Capitan in Yellowstone, Yosemite. Which one's the one in California?
Okay.
There's a
Sorry,
national
friend.
park. El Capitan is like a 9,000-foot rock in California, and God put it there to tell people to stay away and not to climb it.
Oh, you're talking about... I'm sorry, I had to step away for a minute. You're talking about the about Free Solo, right?
That is correct.
Oh
yes.
my gosh, it's awesome. Sorry, I had to step away.
It is an amazing experience. It is such a good movie.
Yeah.
I'm still not sure how I feel about Alex Honnold. Like, he's a weird guy that was built to climb mountains, I guess, because the dude did it with no ropes, and like going through it and seeing like the mindset you have to get in, and like how much your life depends on literally your fingertips, like and it's incredible. It was a really good movie. Really fun to watch.
Did you feel bad for his girlfriend? Because like he was like, nah, I'm gonna climb this mountain.
Yeah.
She's like, would you start a family with me? Yeah, I'd probably still go climb the mountain instead.
Yeah, no, she straight up asks him at least 2 times, like, if it came down to like me or climbing, what would you choose? And he's like, climbing, absolutely, 100%. Like no pause, no. And he's just like socially super awkward because of how he was brought up.
Yeah.
But like whatever weird mix of stuff he's got in him, that's what you need to be crazy enough to climb up a mountain. So it was a very cool movie. I'd recommend to anybody, even if you're deathly afraid of heights like me.
I was gonna say they show a part where he it was an MRI, and his brain activity was different than other people, and like the part of the brain that like makes him crazy is like, I don't know.
It's not.
like,
I want to be. I'm just saying, like, people who like heights are crazy. He's not actually crazy.
Right.
He just is odd because of how he was brought up, and
Yeah.
it showed that he doesn't process fear
Exactly.
like other people. It takes him a lot more to be like images they showed other people that activate the whatever part of the brain that processes fear. It didn't light up in his MRI. It takes a lot more to get him going.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. You said it better.
Yeah. No, I saw it more recently, probably, so it's still fresh. But great movie.
Academy
Also,
Award for Best Picture or Best Documentary as well.
Yeah, I have friends that instead of a book club, we do a movie club, and we're talking about that this month, and also watching Icarus. I haven't watched it yet, but it's about the Russian doping scandal.
Curtis,
cool.
my husband, loves that documentary.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Cool. I still have to watch it now. I'm like, oh, I have homework I haven't done. So. Also, I don't know if you guys watch Critical Role. I do. It sucked me in. They have one of the most successful Kickstarters ever. It's really cool to see a community coming together. But they wanted $750,000 to produce like a 2-part episode featuring the characters they created on their show. It's voice actors playing D&D, so naturally it's a talented group of people doing. It's basically like improv, really, and they raised over $7.5 million as of today, with still almost a month to go.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Like the average, it was like 53,000 people, give or take, donated, and so that's like, on average, like over $100 a person. Like, people really want to see this, and it's incredible how the updates they keep posting. It's just them going. So now they're going to do, like, I think a whole season or like several episodes as opposed to just one, because they were going to do it just like bare bones, but now they have enough to really flesh it out, and they have really talented people involved, so it should be very good.
What was that called? Critical Role?
Critical Role, ROLE, as in like if they're a role in a play or something.
Yeah.
Roll up, yeah.
But it's all they do a live Twitch stream on Thursdays. They post it as a podcast later, but they also put it on YouTube. They have their own channel now. They were part of Geek and Sundry,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
but now they have their own channel, and so you can just go to the playlist and watch their whole first campaign. I'm really enjoying their second campaign, and I'm current with that, and I'm catching up on the first one. I tried it before, and it was a lot to take in because it's like 4-hour chunks at a time, but it's very good. Also, I backed Derek Loughman. He's a great artist that is doing an art book on Kickstarter. You guys should check it out. It's just great art.
Sweet.
I like good art.
It's like the kind of style. It's the kind of style that I wish I could do. Slightly cartoony, but with the correct anatomy is in there. You can tell that it's like a comic book animator-esque type style. He did a comic series, 5 issues, called Ruin World, which is a lot of fun. It's like animal characters in a medieval setting, going on adventures and stuff. It's real fun. But anyhow,
Cool.
that's it.
Oh, when you were talking about Kickstarter, there's one more thing I'm going to say. So, one of my favorite bands is the Aquabats. I don't know.
Oh, I'm backing them too.
Are you? So
Yeah.
So they wanted $100,000, and now they have like over $700,000. So they're like,
Well, that's after they originally said they wanted $1 million, and then they were like, and they fixed it. So I'm glad they've corrected that.
yeah. So I mean, they did, but they're like, now we can do 2 new albums this week and record more of our TV show. But I was so happy backing that.
Their TV show is so goofy fun. It's great.
Yeah,
If you haven't
it's
caught
great.
it.
Sorry,
Yeah,
that
it's
was
hilarious.
sorry I interrupted.
Just what you hope it would be. No, that's I should have mentioned that because that's something else. Yeah, but Kickstarter is great.
Yep.
Awesome.
So I'm going to go real quick because I actually haven't been up to too much. I said this at the top of the show. I'm getting married in like 5 days. That has been dominating
Yes.
most of my life. Beyond that, like, I have been doing other things. I'm getting back into reading fiction and audiobooks in a big way.
Nice.
Currently listening to Neverwhere by Neil Gaiman, which I'm quite enjoying.
yeah.
Another thing that takes a lot of my time, and I haven't really talked about it much on this show, is I do another podcast that is all about comic books. I do that with John and with Aldo, who used to be...
Dang it! You weren't supposed to say I was on it because I could be like, that sounds like that's a handsome group that you got.
I already did the handsome joke.
I know. I'm sorry.
But on that podcast, we've read a Neil Gaiman book, and I've mentioned that I'm not the biggest fan of Neil Gaiman's writing. I think he's an interesting person. I love it when he writes kids' books. I'm really enjoying Neverwhere. So I've got words that I need to eat.
Yeah. See, and I tried American Gods first, and I just could not at all. But Neverwhere, I actually really...
If you're at all like me, and you tried to read American Gods, you probably gave up at the point where the woman ate the man with her vagina.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Which,
actually.
by the way,
it's a hard sell. for
that's
some
page
people.
3. So, they're really setting expectations at a certain level in that book. Yeah, that's honestly probably the biggest, most significant thing that I have been into that is a geeky pop culture-y thing. Otherwise, I've just been playing, like, Stardew Valley a whole bunch.
I see
Oh,
that
I
when
love Stardew Valley.
whenever I get on my Switch, I'm like, oh, Steven's playing Stardew Valley. Oh, I see you on all the time.
As he rightly should
Yeah,
be.
I have played Stardew Valley for almost 200 hours.
Yeah.
Game is ridiculous. But that's really all I've got to talk about. We've been going for a little bit, so we need to take a quick break. When we get back, we're diving into The Umbrella Academy.
Woo!
Your
Well,
turn.
to be fair, I think part of the strategy when you're first learning poker is you don't actually know what's a good hand. So you practice your face of obliviousness.
I've seen Maverick and that other poker movie. Hold on, it'll come to me.
2 poker movies and John's an expert. at
Rain
it.
Man?
No, that's
No,
Blackjack.
that's not poker.
I think it's just Maverick.
That's fair.
Again. Yeah. No,
okay.
Casino Royale. Yeah.
2 movies makes him an expert, definitely. Most definitely.
I mean, they're both poker movies, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know what else makes you an expert? Podcasting!
Oh, yeah.
Oh! I dropped my recording device.
Oh, no! That's bad.
Do you know what makes you an amateur?
And you call yourself an expert at
I don't think he called
podcasting.
himself an expert. I think he called you an expert. He's got a little wiggle room.
Oh, I thought he was
Guys,
talking to you.
we've
as
been
an
on this
expert.
call for like almost 2 hours, and
Since God
I
was a boy.
don't have the energy in me anymore for segues. It's a good thing that we are literally just starting our conversation on the topic that we came here to conversate about.
Segways are for squares.
So, hey,
Segways are for people who want to travel around in style.
Ooh.
and I am dripping in finesse.
It all makes no sense out here dripping infinite. Don't get me started. I'll go forever. Anyway.
Can we talk about Umbrella Academy now? I love this show and I want to talk about
Yeah,
it.
I mean, okay,
cool.
sure.
So, Umbrella Academy, for those of you who are not aware, is a show that is on Netflix. It is kind of the biggest Netflix show right now, I think. It's the one I've definitely heard the most conversation about, but of course I'm like fly on the wall of comic book Twitter, so I do tend to pay attention to what comic book professionals are talking about. And you better believe,
All right.
they're all going to talk about the comic book show on Netflix.
Imagine.
Yeah.
All right, side note. Another thing that I've been into is that Stranger Things 3 trailer. That
I
I've watched
can't
like
talk
10
about it
times.
because I have so many feelings and I'm so excited I'm going to cry.
Okay, anyway.
So many feelings.
My movie club friends were like, "Does that come out on Monday?" No, it comes out in the summer. And like one person was like, "I heard it came out on Monday," and like 6 people were like, "No, it comes out in the summer." And I sent a picture of me because I was literally wearing a Stranger Things T-shirt, and I was like, "Believe me, it comes out in
My
July."
birthday. Happy birthday to me.
So, Umbrella Academy, the Netflix show that we are talking about.
Yes.
Man, so Nate had to drop off the call. He had some personal matters to attend to. But is Nate the one who described it as like the X-Men meets the Royal Tenenbaums? Because that's
I
like
think so, yeah.
the perfect description of this show. It really
Yeah, it's
is.
very apt. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the high concept.
I was gonna say X-Men meeting, like if X-Men was set in the world of like series of unfortunate events. That's what it felt like to me.
So
while
the
I
high
was watching
concept
it.
here. This eccentric billionaire adopts a group of babies, and these babies are part of this like bizarre, miraculous mass birth. 43 women give birth simultaneously at the same time, and none of them were pregnant to begin with. So anyway, this eccentric millionaire, Sir Reginald Hargreaves, adopts these children, and he raises them up to be superheroes. 7 children. I think I might have said 6 earlier. He adopts 7 children, and each of them has different superpowers. You've got Luther, who is like super strong, and then you've got Diego, who can throw knives really good.
It's such a weird thing. Anyway.
I'm just thinking of Mystery Man right now. I'm the shoveler. I dig well.
Yeah.
I shovel well.
A shovel
There's
well.
Allison, who is called the Rumor. Anything that she says comes true. Klaus is the freaky guy who, like, talks to dead people. Then there is number 5, who does not seem to actually have a name. He can teleport. And time travel, as it turns out.
And time travel.
Ben...
Oh, by the way, we're going to have
Oh,
spoilers.
yeah. We haven't spoiled anything yet, and we're not going to in the immediate future. And then Ben, who almost doesn't matter because he died, like, as a child. We see him in flashbacks, and we know that he can, like, turn into a giant monster or have, like, monster body parts come out of him. But he died, and so we don't really know his story. And then there is Vanya. Vanya is, I think, the probably the biggest name in the cast. It's Ellen Page.
Yeah.
Vanya doesn't seem to have any powers, and she's kind of, like, resentful of her siblings because they go on adventures and do stuff together all the time, and she's very much the outcast. So anyway, these 7 children grow up, except for Ben. So these 6 children grow up, and they just drift apart. They don't get along. Then Reginald Hargreaves dies, and that brings the family back together, and they kind of have all of this drama. We start seeing romantic tension between some of the members, because remember, they're not actually related by blood.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember that. Please remember that so it doesn't seem creepy. Because when that came up, I was like, okay, just think of it like they all went to the same academy together and they're all just like schoolmates, okay? And like, you know, earlier in the show they were siblings, but really, oh gosh, gross.
So, the Umbrella Academy, I have been tapped into for a little bit because it is a comic book series that began sometime in the last decade. It's been about 10 years, I think, since it started. It was illustrated by Gabriel Ba, who is... I love Gabriel Ba's artwork. If you are familiar with, like, Hellboy, he has actually a very similar style to Mike Mignola.
Mm-hmm.
But he's definitely more about brighter colors, and Mignola's more about the deep shadows. I really like them both. They're great. The writer of the Umbrella Academy is a
young boy whose father took him into the city to see a marching band. I've been waiting to make that joke this whole podcast.
My brain was like struggling, and I was like, and then there it came.
Gerard Way, former frontman for My Chemical Romance. After the band, well, even before the band broke up, actually, he got into writing comics. I haven't read everything he's done. I have read the Umbrella Academy comic. It is really something. I quite like it, but it's definitely an acquired taste. But I'm a fan, and so when I heard that Umbrella Academy was going to be a show, it's like, well, okay, fine, I guess I won't cancel my Netflix subscription. And yeah, so watched the whole thing in one sick weekend, and we're here to talk about it now. So that's sort of the general background. Started as a comic, now we're here. What do you guys think about it?
I like it a lot.
I was hesitant to watch it for some reason. I don't really know why. I saw it and I'm like, oh, this is okay. I don't know about Ellen Page. I don't know. This could be okay. I don't know. And then I watched it, and while I didn't fall in love with it right away or anything like that, well, there was a particular sequence that we'll discuss, I'm sure, that inspired me to watch more, right?
Yeah, we all know
And
what
of course-
sequence you're talking about, too.
Yeah, I'm sure we do.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it in favorite moments, maybe, 'cause it's my favorite. Like, it's the only reason I kept watching. Like, that's what made me decide to keep watching, was that.
Yeah, so what stuck out to you guys as like, what made this show special? I think rather than getting into, like, favorite moments, let's actually talk about our experience with the show to start with. Because I've in talking about what we wanted to discuss, I want to talk about, like, general impressions. I actually think the best way to do it is, What was your experience watching it? Did it grab you from the beginning? Was it a slow burn? I think we can go ahead and maybe talk a little bit, since it's such a prominent part of, I think, our experience with it. The moment that hooked us.
That dance sequence, like, so I remember I was sitting there watching it, and I'm like, okay, they're mad at each other, it's whatever, this is kind of fine, this is fine. Like, I wasn't, like, invested in anybody, and, like, I was kind of just waiting for something to kind of happen, you know what I mean? I don't know. I was waiting for something. And then the second that, oh my god, I just lost his name, Luther, started... He turned on I Think We're Alone Now.
Yep.
By Tiffany. And he starts dancing in his room, and everybody's in their own separate rooms. They each have their little dancing moment, just dancing by themselves. You know what I mean? Dancing like nobody's watching, and it's this, like, it's such a precious, like, it's a fun way to see, like, not the vulnerability, that's not the word I'm looking for, but these fun side of these characters that we don't care about. This made me care about them. You know what I mean? That sequence made me start to care about them.
Yeah, that bit was, and that's, I mean, immediately where my brain went when Nate mentioned Rail Tenenbaums meets X-Men, because it's such a quirky little moment where this family, we get what I think is a really great shot, where we see, like, a cross-section of the house, and we see everybody in their individual rooms dancing. This sequence, it's like the whole song.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, the best part is when they pull back and, like, they do, like, a dollhouse thing.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was talking about.
That's what he's saying.
In their individual rooms. Yeah, like, I'm saying, like, doing it in set, like, and everyone's dancing differently, like...
Oh my gosh, it's so good!
Oh.
Well, and the thing that I love about it is that song is so perfect for, the moment, for everything that they're doing.
Oh, for sure.
Because I think we're alone now. Everybody's alone dancing, but they're all dancing together, but not knowing that they're together, knowing that they're, that they think that they're all alone. They're all experiencing this alone. And so it actually gives deep meaning to a Tiffany song.
Yeah. No, what I like, I think a lot about, like, siblings and birth order and how that kind of affects your life and everything. There's 4 in my family, and, how does everyone react to the same experience? They all had a terrible father. They were all the same age, born on the same day, same circumstances. And then their powers and personalities, make them different, and, like, slowly they drift apart because of that. How does, like, everyone react, and we get to see, 6, 7 kind of, but really just 6 different reactions to the same event, and that's interesting when we get, like, this image. It wasn't what grabbed me. I think I was hooked from the get-go, but, that was a great sequence and unique, with superhero shows and, shows that I'd seen on Netflix, so.
Oh, for sure.
Maybe stand out.
So for me, I mean, there are, based on everything that you know about me and about what type of shows I really gravitate towards, there's 2 big things. One is visual style, and then the other is characters. And I think that this show just has both of those in spades, and that's what grabbed me. And then just that soundtrack in general, going back to the Tiffany song, but just every time that they have a song in there, just I loved it.
Yeah, dude.
I mean that first fight with 5 in the diner,
Istanbul,
in the donut shop.
Yeah.
With Istanbul by They Might Be Giants, and it's basically Nightcrawler scene from X-Men 2, except for even cooler somehow. And I was very, very much into that.
Yeah. So, a little bit about 5, because hanging out on Instagram, you see a lot of number 5 and Klaus fan art in particular. I think those 2 wound up being the big runaway characters. Number 5
for sure
can teleport, and he disappeared for a long, long time because he tried to teleport into the future. And then in the middle of the first episode, or I think right towards the end, he shows up again. And he's still a little boy. He's probably about 12 to 16-ish, somewhere in his early to mid-teens.
13.
Yeah, but the actor, there's no way the actor's actually 13.
Yeah.
But you find out that he's actually been in the future for decades, and somehow the process of traveling back to this particular moment has reverted him physically to the body of a child. And so you just get this, like, cantankerous, foul-mouthed teenager, but, like, he's cantankerous and foul-mouthed in the way of a tired, middle-aged man, not in the way of a teenager.
You know what it reminded me of is the Santa Claus with Bernard.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's like it's a weird pull, but
Yeah.
you're absolutely
Yeah,
right. Yeah. It's frustrated with people around him being dumb.
And I want to give props here to Aidan Gallagher, the actor.
Oh, he's so good.
Oh, he
I think
rocks it.
one of the best, if not the best performance. The other contender is probably Robert Sheehan as Klaus.
Oh, he's so good in everything I've ever seen him in. I love him.
I don't think I've
Just
seen him in
love
anything
him.
else. What else has he been in?
I saw him in Mortal Instruments. You guys can skip that movie. I was
yeah.
I've been
really
watching him
excited
in
for
stuff
it.
since Misfits.
And
it's a terrible show. Don't watch it, but he's really great in it.
Yeah, I'm pulling it. I've just pulled up his IMDb page, and it's like, yeah, I'm not watching any of these.
Hey, Geostorm,
Yeah.
man. Geostorm.
Ding dong, man, ding dong.
Hey, Bad Samaritan was good. Anybody see that? That was good.
So
No.
we there's a couple of other characters that we actually haven't mentioned yet. Number 5 in his travels has managed to make some enemies. We don't quite know the nature of his relationship with these two beforehand, like when they first show up. But number 5 is being hunted by a couple of assassins that run a
Cha-Cha and Hazel, and they are
Hazel
two of
and
my
Cha-Cha,
favorites.
and this is one of the
Yeah.
other big names. Cha-Cha is played by Mary J. Blige.
I remember I watched
Yeah.
it and I'm like, is that Mary J. Blige? Yeah, that's Mary J. Blige. Like I
Yeah.
had a moment where I'm like, that's not, but that's
It
not, but it is.
Totally is.
Hazel and Cha-Cha, like, the more they're in, like, there's a good stretch where I was like, okay, these are the main characters. I'm rooting for these guys, like, they're so, like, they are horrible, cold-blooded killers, but it's like, this is the most entertaining thing to watch right now, and like, they get more and more complex, and they're like, at first they're totally locked in step, and like, grumbling about job stuff, but like, they're committed to the job, and then you see how they kind of differ in their outlooks, and how Hazel has some misgivings, and Cha-Cha's like, the company girl or company man, company lady,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it, like, like, this is the job, we're going to do the job, and that's just how it is, so entertaining and so weird, and it was like, hey, Mary J. Blige, she does a good job.
I
what do
found
you know?
myself less than interested in anything that was going on with those two until the introduction. I guess she had already been introduced, but Hazel's first interaction with Agnes,
Oh, yes.
which is the most unexpected
So-
that was
love
kind of
story
weird to me, but
that I
okay.
didn't see coming, but I love it. Like that was another thing that made me care about this show, was those two together.
So that was
It's
weird.
supposed to be weird.
I think it was supposed to be. Yeah, it was definitely supposed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, here you have Hazel, who is literally somebody out of time. Just completely outside of his element. And then you have Agnes, who is established this donut shop and worked so hard there and, has developed this, basically staying where she is, where you have Hazel, who's just literally going throughout all of time and space to assassinate people.
Mm-hmm.
And so, Hazel, I think more than anything else, just falling for that simple life of seeing something seeing something more pure and donuts. And then Agnes at the same time, seeing, well, why don't I really go bird watching? Why don't I go on this big thing? And so I was really into that relationship as well.
Yeah.
Those are probably my 4 favorites: is Klaus and Five and Hazel and Cha-Cha.
Yeah.
Like those are, there were other good characters.
Well,
but
I
those
think they
4
were
stood out.
easily the best characters. So I've got to say, talking about, again, sort of the show just generally, I struggled a little bit because, and this is probably going to surprise you guys a little bit, Umbrella Academy, the Netflix show, isn't quite weird enough for me. And in particular...
Okay.
So are you talking about, like, in comparison to...
To the comic, specifically.
Like the comic?
Yeah.
I wondered about that, because I looked up a little bit about the comic as far as, like, what's different, and it seems like the comic has a lot more going on. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely... There's more development of the characters. We get a lot of insight into Luther and Allison's relationship. Like, things are a little bit more developed there. If I remember correctly, because it actually has been a while since I've read it, number 2, Diego, whose codename is the Kraken, and they don't ever use it, I don't think, in the show. He actually feels completely different. He's definitely got a chip on his shoulder still, but this is more like small character stuff. Some of the big differences are things like Reginald Hargreaves in the comic is an alien.
Well, it kind of indicates...
No,
he's a tentacled alien.
Yeah.
It goes there.
Interesting.
Okay, well...
That's because there are no tentacles.
I don't remember the tentacle part, but sure.
Flanagan is lying to you. It doesn't go there.
Yet.
Well, I mean, it indicates...
It implies that he is more
sure.
than what he is on the surface. But it's like very, very different. I think one of the other big differences is Vanya, who eventually you kind of learn there's more to her than we've been led to believe. At the end of the series, she dons this white tuxedo and plays a white violin. In the comic, she turns into like a giant violin. It's kind of a great visual, if nothing else. But, I mean, I say all this to go back to Hazel and Cha-Cha. One of the things that I liked about the Netflix show, and where I think they really captured the weirdness very well, is with Hazel and Cha-Cha in particular. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, like, I've got a lot of, like, little nitpicks about the show itself and how I wish it was a little bit weirder. Hazel and Cha-Cha is, like, that pairing and their relationship with number 5 and with this agency that's got them going around and being wicked. Like, all of that stuff I think is very, very good.
Can we talk about how annoyed I was at the end of episode 6, the day that wasn't? Okay, so they have Allison and Luther have this cute little dance sequence, and they finally kiss, and they have this moment, and then Five's like, no, I gotta go back and do blah blah blah. I can't. I just can't. I was so mad. I turned it off for a minute, stepped away, and then I came back because I was mad. Oh, I'm mad. I'm still mad.
I like how passionate you get about TV, Emily.
I'm glad it entertains you because it makes me grumpy.
Grumpy.
Am I alone in my feelings on that? If I am, it's okay.
Well, you tap into something here, I think, that bugs me sort of universally about Netflix shows. Mm-hmm. They tread water a little bit. They feel like they have an episode count. Like, they set the episode count, I think, before they write the story. Mm-hmm. And I notice it with a lot of the different Netflix shows. I think Stranger Things is one of the only ones that I've ever watched where I don't think I've sensed this. Although I think a lot of people would argue that the second season absolutely drags a little bit.
I liked that.
I loved it. I thought it was
episode.
great.
I don't care what people say.
But, like, with Umbrella
Okay.
Academy, in particular, it's probably about 2 episodes too long. And so they have to kind of, like, backtrack and retread plot. And they have to... They spend so much time with some of the characters that they kind of forget to move the plot forward. And... Again, it's not a problem that I think is unique to the Umbrella Academy, but I definitely noticed it.
Yeah. For sure.
Oh, yeah.
I found myself, like, I didn't really care about Luther or Diego. At first I was like, oh, it's like if Batman and Superman were brothers and in each other's faces. And then I was like, no, it's just kind of, yeah. And, like... some things I really liked about the show, how the fact that they have Pogo, a monkey butler, and no one ever acknowledges how it's super weird to have a monkey butler. Oh, I loved it. He was well, I have problems with Pogo plot-wise for later, but like, or like a robot mom, you know, it's like cool. Like we just are having weird things and not acknowledging how they're weird.
I loved
We're
that.
just going
that's
with
just
it.
Mom.
That's a cool thing for the show to do. That's just Mom. That's just Pogo. He's our British butler who also happens to be a chimp.
Yeah.
That's just how we roll in this house.
So...
But I just didn't really like Luther. Never. I was like, who cares? He's strong and part monkey. Like, who cares? I did not. And, like, Diego was like, I've seen this cop
I
show
felt
before.
that way too.
Oh. And, like, the girl who's, like, you know, the detective, like, she seemed cool, but then again, it was also like, we've seen this procedural 1,000 times. And when she was like, I'm going to throw you in jail, the next episode, she's like, sit down and help me solve this case.
Was anybody else like...
So
the episode where Luther gets really depressed because he finds out that his dad sent him to the moon for nothing, right? And he starts drinking and he goes to that club and, like... Did anybody else just think that was, like, non-essential and weird that I wish I could unsee it?
I mean, absolutely, but it's also, like...
it was real
I
weird.
didn't actually care about Luther that much before that moment.
I feel like I cared about him almost less after that moment. Somehow. I don't even know. I was bothered by it for some reason.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's because it was super out of character, which was the point of him doing
just
all
didn't...
that, I guess. But I didn't care for it.
I didn't care for the CGI of his gorilla body that looked not great.
Well, and this is another area where I think the Netflix show isn't quite weird enough, because in the comic book, Luther has a gorilla body. In the Netflix show, he's just like really broad-shouldered and a little more hirsute, perhaps, than normal.
Right.
But no, he like in the comics, his head is like transplanted onto a gorilla body.
I see. Okay.
And yes, that's an important distinction.
Yeah, that. I feel like that would have played out a lot better.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. The visual definitely would have landed more.
It would have been. It would have. I don't know how they would have pulled. I think that one might have been the thing. Like monkey butler, yes. Monkey older brother. I mean, yes, I know they're the same age, but he's the head of the family, as he says.
He is number one.
He's number one.
Okay, so we've.
Yeah.
So while we're talking
go
about
ahead.
right, can I just say that I don't really like Vanya. I really just don't. Like, Ellen Page seemed her Ellen Pageiest in this role, where it's I'm the shy outcast who's trying to appear homely and sad and barely speaks above a whisper.
So I don't think it.
That's literally the character.
Here's the thing.
They were trying to go
me,
for.
I don't think I would have. Because Vanya's fine, and that's how I feel about her. She's fine. I don't think I would have felt any differently, no matter who was playing her. You know what I mean? I think that she did what she needed to, and it was fine. You know what I mean? I don't know. I don't know how to say anything else other than it was fine.
I think there's potential, in like the next season for her to do some more with the character, because she's literally like drugged into like meh kind of personality because her to keep her powers in check. So like, yeah, sure, I get it. You're right, but I think that
for
don't
sure.
count her out yet.
What did you guys think about Leonard?
Creeped me out, man, and that was his job. Creeped
The
me the
Leonard
heck out.
equivalent in the comic book had a skull face. Like, it was a mask. It was a mask.
Right.
It was less of a, like, subtle romance seducing Vanya into destroying the world, but it was more like, hey, you have superpowers. How would you like to destroy the world? And Vanya's like, okay.
Okay.
I think, like, Leonard, I didn't care for him, but that was kind of, like, the point of Leonard. But I think that it is interesting to see that point of view of, like, he had a hard life, he wanted to be special, he just wasn't. And so how do you deal with that? How do you deal with learning, not everybody gets to grow up to become an astronaut. What are we going to, what's that going to be?
Right,
in my life?
and especially where, he was also born in that day, so
Right.
he thinks,
Yeah.
it messes
And he,
with
like,
his head.
and he doesn't want to be associated with his family because he has a terrible dad.
Did anybody else? Right.
it was
Did
abusive.
anybody else think that his death scene was like jarring, but also kind of like cool? I don't know.
Yeah.
Because like
Telekinesis is I really like when
Yeah.
it's done right in movies and stuff. It seems like that's the power to get, because if you're good
Yeah,
enough with it,
dude.
you can fly. And,
Yes.
impale guys
Oh, man.
1,000 times with
I was saying,
kitchen
like,
utensils.
I remember watching it and I'm like, I'm sure this dude's gonna die soon. Okay. Guess it's now.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Yeah. So
yeah.
we've
Yeah.
talked a lot about a lot of the different characters. Some of the other characters, though, I don't have quite as much to say about. One thing I do want to say about Allison, and this is maybe like not the most important thing, but it did stick with me a little bit. In the comics, Allison is just white and very sort of like conventionally white person attractive, like what you would like a character that would maybe be played by someone like not Anne Hathaway necessarily, but someone who's more Tim Burton pretty.
Right.
Okay.
And in this production, Allison is a little like she's not the same level of beauty, or not. Level's definitely the wrong word. She's not the same like type of beauty, but she's more like they've got the big curly hair that's a little bit less what you would typically see from another like white actress. And I don't actually know the ethnicity. I don't know this actress.
Well, she's very new.
She was in Emmy Raver Lampman. Very good. And I think she was in
Really?
Hamilton when it toured.
So I'm looking at her Wikipedia page right now.
Uh-huh.
She was a member of the original ensemble cast of Hamilton on Broadway, and she did a lot of theater before that. She did like touring productions of Hair,
Wow.
and Jekyll and Hyde, and A Night with Janis Joplin. She did those on Broadway, and she was in the national touring production of Wicked as a standby for the role of Elphaba.
Wow.
So she's a really talented musician and a really talented actress.
And I think, thank goodness that they didn't go with, a boring, like, sticking with the comic and going with, like, the boring, like, conventional,
Yeah.
normal look, She's gorgeous, and I think she does really well. I don't really care too much about her
No,
and
yeah,
Luther's
I'm with you on
relationship.
that.
It's fine. It's
Yeah.
not, like...
Yeah.
But, like,
Yeah.
she does a great job, and
Yeah, I just remember...
interesting position she's in, like, that she's kind of screwed up
Yeah.
her own life with her
I just
powers.
remember, though, like, again, she is portrayed as this very beautiful character. And, of course, the actress herself is very, very beautiful. And I don't know. When I see something like this, I just am reminded of... And if I'm talking about this and it sounds like I'm a little awkward, it's because I'm not black. But
Oh.
I've...
Our listeners might not know that.
You mean we're going to stay this color?
Like, I remember reading an article on Kotaku.com from Evan Narcisse, I believe was the writer, and he talked about He's a black man playing video games, trying to create black characters to play as in the character customization, and never being able to find his hairstyle.
Yeah.
And so, like, for me, like, representation in media is a big deal. Not so much because I need to see myself on the screen, because I do all the time, but more it's because I feel like it offers this, like, it gives you this opportunity to learn empathy and learn to appreciate people and cultures who are different than you. And so I just liked the super positive portrayal of a woman with just big curly hair, and it's not even, the 1980s. Like, she's a gorgeous person. And again, I don't want this to be, like, necessarily all about her looks, because there are definitely more important things. I'm going to be... We're going to talk about what we want to see in Season 2. Knowing that she was in the cast of Hamilton, I want her to perform.
Yeah, dude.
Personally, in Season 2.
Yeah.
I want to see that. I still think that's a pretty noteworthy thing.
I think that based on the episodes of Monster Factory I've seen, you can do a lot of things to make your custom character creation look however you want.
Oh my.
I'm assuming everyone's seen that. Emily, have you watched that at all? Oh, man.
Oh, those
something
mackerels.
So, we've talked a lot about different characters. There's one big character that I don't think we've said enough about quite yet, and that's Klaus.
Oh.
There's just
man.
so much to say. I feel like we could talk about him for hours almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let's not necessarily spend hours, but we've got some time.
I went back and watched a bit of it just today while I had some time to get ready and kind of remind myself, and I forgot some of the crazy stuff that he gets up to in the beginning. The first couple episodes, it feels like it's his, we're following him a lot, and then it kind of gets into number 5 and then switches to Hazel and Cha-Cha a bit, because like number 5 kind of drives the plot really, and everyone else is kind of reacting to it.
Yeah.
And then it becomes, about the white violin and the end of the world, but like it's like it's so weird. He's so weird. They go into like the manufacturing place or to talk to the doctor about the eye, and he just like punches his brother, and then he's like, "And then you beat the crap out of us," and like hits himself with a snow globe. He's like, "Ah, that hurt."
Oh,
and
That's
it's
so
like,
funny. Go ahead.
wow, because at first, you just. He's the guy who can talk to the dead, and they're, wondering what happened to their dead father, and he can't say anything right away. I think it was a clever way, him being high, him not being, really with it, and doing what he should be doing. It's a good way to kind of extend the mystery a bit.
Well, he reminds me so much of... In fact, there's actually a lot of things that remind me in this show of Haunting of Hill House. Except for he reminds me of Luke if Luke had a personality in it, which he kind of doesn't. Just using drugs to kind of dull everything that's happened to him.
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, being forced to see dead people all the time as a child
No
in
kidding.
a tomb, in a crypt, probably doesn't really make you feel happy, good inside. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's purely speculative.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
I love that he's got so much depth, and we see it peeled back layer by layer every episode.
Oh, and just when it goes into his relationship when he's sent back in time and just...
Oh,
Like-
and when he...
when he's in
Yes.
Vietnam, holy crap!
Yes, and then
Holy
when he comes
crap.
back, and he seems completely different
Yeah.
when he gets back, and you don't really know why until it shows that flashback and shows exactly what it is that he went through. And wow,
War, man.
Oh,
War
so
will
good.
change you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd forgotten about that until just now. Oh man, I love that he has Ben, their dead brother, hanging around with him the whole time. Like from the first or second episode. I think it's the end of the first episode.
Right.
So cool because that's his power, and then he gets things together enough where he can bring him forth, because Ben joins in the last
that
fight.
was so cool.
And everyone else can see him. That was a big, like, moment
Yeah.
for me in the show, was, getting to that point. Because it's a weird power to have in, like, a team like that. Like, what does he do in the bank heist, like, robbery? I don't remember if he does anything, because,
he does. There were basically robbers still in the vault. And he just goes in very reluctantly, going, oh...
He's talking
That's
about
Ben.
Klaus.
I'm talking about Klaus.
Gotcha.
Yeah, that's not really a power that you can, like, okay, go look for
Right.
dead people, But the way that it comes up in the show, like when he's being tortured by Hazel. That was messed up. That was so crazy.
I love that. But
the show, like...
I'm very partial to any time that you have random Russian thrown in. Which, considering that it starts out in Russian with the show, I was immediately in love. And I think that's what grabbed me. But
See, that bothered me that Ellen Page's character was named Vanya, because it's a boy's name. It was like bugging me the whole time.
Me too, actually. Me too.
I was like, Dядя Vanya, like, that's a thing. Why do you
I also
call
think it's
it-
interesting how
Whatever.
Chekhov,
man.
You got this show where one of your main characters is a man with a giant gorilla body, and another one of your main characters is a violinist with a white tuxedo, and another one of your main characters has, like, tentacles that, like, shoot out of all of his limbs, and yet Klaus is the one with the most distinctive visual, I think. Like, he's always kind of cross-dressing. He's got the hello, goodbye tattoos on the palms of his hands.
Yeah.
Like, he's visually the most interesting, and that's before you get into how he's portrayed.
Oh, yeah. I just rewatched the first episode today, and I had forgotten that he went in and he stole one of Allison's skirts.
Yeah.
And he was wearing it
Yep.
throughout the rest of that episode.
Yep.
Yeah, good stuff. It's good stuff.
Okay, guys, I have to step away for just 1 minute. I'll be right back.
Are we supposed to keep going?
Sure.
Okay. I don't know how we keep going, though, because we're getting into, like, the favorite stuff.
Hey, Brady, say nothing if you're a wiener.
How old are we?
That's how you... Oh.
You do know there's a lady
12.
on this call, right?
Oh, excuse me. I could have said butthead. I was just going with the funniest word I could think of.
Butthead's a pretty funny word.
Yeah. No, I said it in front of my 2-year-old, and I inadvertently created the funniest joke that's ever been heard.
Oh, man.
I love the things that kids think are funny.
Kids?
Or, 30-plus-year-old men.
We're having a good time. That's all I'm saying. Yeah, so... I really do strongly recommend, especially you, John, if you haven't read it, to pick up Umbrella Academy, the comic.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, just for, like, I want to see how it all plays out, because the style, the little I've seen, looked intriguing, and I know that if, like, this is what they're showing on the TV show, it's going to be just way weirder in the comics.
Yeah,
so. How close, like,
So,
plot-wise,
there are 3 Umbrella Academy series. Each of them's about 6 issues long.
Yeah.
The third one I have not read, because it actually either is still coming out or just wrapped up, and I didn't even know about it. Yeah.
I think it just.
The other 2 are the Apocalypse Suite and Dallas. And the Netflix show is a mix of both stories.
I was wondering about that.
And you can kind of tell, because, or at least, and I think I mentioned this, John and I talked about the Umbrella Academy on our other podcast. But I could definitely see a scene, because all of the stuff with Vanya, with the white violin, with the family getting back together for Hargreaves' funeral, all of that stuff is the Apocalypse Suite. And all of the stuff with number 5 and Hazel and Cha-Cha is from Dallas.
I see. Okay.
Interesting.
And so, they found a way to merge the stories, I think, pretty well by making Hazel and Cha-Cha's goal to make sure the apocalypse happened.
Yeah.
I don't quite remember what their goal was from the comics, because one thing that I do remember from the comics, and maybe my opinion will have changed now, but I liked Dallas significantly less than the Apocalypse Suite. So I think they made the right choice.
Oh, see, Dallas seems more intriguing.
I mean, it seems more intriguing because you've seen the show, and you've seen Hazel and Cha-Cha, and you've seen number 5, but the Apocalypse Suite has all of the weirdness. Like, it opens with this professional wrestling page. Like, you see this guy doing an elbow dive on another wrestler, and at the exact moment... Oh, and one of the wrestlers is an alien, of course. And at the exact moment that the elbow strike lands, that's when all the children are born. And it doesn't get any less weird as the show goes, or as the story goes on. And so, because it's so new, you're just like, what is this? Oh my gosh, he's got a monkey body. Oh my gosh, this woman just turned into a giant white violin and she's playing with an orchestra that is going to destroy the world. And it's a little bit more out there. And then I think by the time Dallas rolls around, it's like, how do we up the ante? How do we make it wilder and weirder? And it's also like... It's also like one of the big plot moments in the Umbrella Academy Netflix show is that moment when Vanya cuts Allison's throat and Allison can't talk anymore.
Yeah.
That happens. That happens in the comic at the end of the Apocalypse Suite. And so in Dallas, you don't even have the potential for Allison to like lean in and say, I heard a rumor that there's not even the potential there. Like, all throughout the Apocalypse Suite, you're reading it, you're like, when is she going to use her power? What's she going to do? And then, like, the minute she tries is when Vanya cuts her.
Now, when in Dallas, is the whole point that number 5 backed out of the Kennedy assassination, and so Hazel and
I
Cha-Cha
believe that's what it is. Like I say, I've only
what?
read Dallas once, and I didn't like it as much as the Apocalypse Suite, so it doesn't... I don't remember it as well. Hazel and Cha-Cha, though, look exactly the same. That's great. That's one of the better visuals in the show, I think. So, yeah, with the masks and the suits.
Oh, yeah, those masks are pretty great.
That felt like it was straight... That felt like it was like, we're going to do this straight out of the comic.
Can I call out the department store scene as being particularly awesome?
Oh,
and then,
yeah.
Well, the attack on the Hargreaves mansion as well.
Yeah, that
Don't Stop Me Now.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
Since we've done lip service for a lot of the songs, I just want to point out that this is the second Netflix show that I have seen that plays Hazy Shade of Winter over the closing credits. Stranger Things did it at the end of, I think, episode 2 when Barb dies. And then Umbrella Academy plays it over the end of the season 1 credits, but it's not the 80s cover, it's a cover by Gerard Way.
Yeah.
Pretty great.
Yeah.
Another thing that I hope to see from season 2 is more, like, I would like to see more music from Gerard Way, because I've always liked him. And I'm not even embarrassed about it anymore. I used to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
We all were.
Okay, are there any other favorite moments that we haven't called out?
I love that. I think it's the start of episode 2 where it's "Run Boy Run" that's playing.
That song!
And
I love that song.
And it's so good where it's 5 just traveling little bits into the future, travel, and then when it hits and it was apocalyptic, like right there, and just the way that music hits that. Oh yeah. That moment especially, and just that look of here's this kid who at this point, you know, he's not the 6-year-old man stuck in a 13-year-old's body that we saw earlier in the show. He is a 13-year-old, and he is stranded, and just that emotional gut punch I thought was great.
Yeah.
In my head, the older version of him, because in like the Dallas shooting flashback, and then like the first time you see him, he kind of reminded me of Chris Claremont, how he looks now. And so now in my head, old version of number 5 is Chris Claremont, and it's real funny to me, because I'm like, what? A character comes from the future to prevent something from bad from happening? I'm like,
That's quite the Claremontian trope.
Yeah, and he was one of the senators or generals or something in a scene in Days of Future Past. So him and Len Wein. Len Wein was one of the other guys. They like argue with each other, which is funny because they would in real life too. So.
Yeah. So, I think at this point, why don't we go on to our sort of last talking point? I've mentioned a couple of things that I want to see from Season 2. In particular, I want to focus, what songs do we think would make good picks for Season 2?
So...
I've got a list. And so, I'm taking kind of what we went through in the first season, and knowing that obviously with the way that Season 2 ends, they're going back to, late 80s, early 90s era. So I wanted basically stuff from then. And so here's the list that I put together. Tell me what you think. Must Have Been Love by Roxette.
Oh, gosh.
You're off to a good start.
Pew.
How does that one go?
It must have been love.
It's the worst
but
song.
It's over now.
I never want to hear that song again, anyway.
Horrible, but I think that they would be able to have some fun
Maybe.
with it. And speaking of being able to have some fun with something that's really cheesy, Blaze of Glory.
Yeah!
Yeah.
That could almost be the opener.
Yeah, dude.
Oh, yeah. B-52's Rome.
Yeah.
Salt and Pepper. Shoot.
Naturally.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the right answer
absolutely.
Right there. Chumbawamba, Tub Thumping.
Hey, you know what? Tub Thumping is quite possibly the best song ever made. And if you disagree with that, it just means that you don't like the best song ever made. And what that says more about you than it does about the song.
I can just totally imagine
what?
a weird fight scene going on with Tub Thumping in the background. Like, I can totally imagine.
Sure.
And then, because Istanbul was so great, I wanted to pick a couple of They Might Be Giant songs. So I'm thinking Particle Man, they could have some fun things with.
I knew you'd say that.
And Boss of Me, which is, of course, also the theme song to Malcolm in the Middle.
Yeah. I don't know why. I just thought of this. It probably might not even fit, and it would be stupid, but so you know how in the 80s there was some competition between Tiffany and Debbie Gibson. So why don't we have Only in My Dreams by Debbie Gibson? Play both parties.
That's awesome.
See, like, I feel like I'm getting my songs from this movie and Guardians mixed up, and it's different. It's different. Like, they both have, like, popular appeal. It's songs that pop up that you're like, hey, I know this song, but I've never bought this album, or either that or you're, like, totally obsessed. I don't know how you roll, but I'm having trouble pinning down what else would be good in it. Plus, I would put Don't Stop Me Now in literally
Absolutely.
everything.
It's my favorite Queen song.
Know.
Besides Bohemian Rhapsody.
Given the time, I mean, they were supposed to be born October the 1st of 1989. And so if we get stuff from when they were like little kids, we're talking like Spin Doctors, man.
Yeah.
So like I don't know if you could do a fight scene to Two Princes, but maybe
I'd be ready for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Spin Doctors do have a song about Superman,
That's
so
true.
There's something there.
That's true.
I think.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that I really want to see is more Gerard Way covers. So basically, any song that you all have mentioned,
Yes.
do that except with Gerard Way. Gerard Way singing "You're Not the Boss of Me" now. Gerard Way singing. Actually, while we've been talking, I've been thinking about like getting some Depeche Mode in there. Gerard Way singing "I Need You Tonight" or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, I am here for that.
Yeah.
I actually kind of like that they saved that till the very end, but this whole project just kind of like oozes that particular My Chemical Romance brand of weirdness that I want them to lean into that a little bit more stylistically, not just in the subject matter. Because I think the style is very much like
what did you guys
trying to do Wes Anderson on a Netflix budget.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of Vanya playing Phantom
Hated
to open
it.
up the whole show after the?
I actually hated it.
Yeah. Now, do you hate Phantom, or
So,
you just didn't?
I
like
hate
what they
Phantom,
did?
but the music from Phantom of the Opera, I think, is objectively, like, if not good, at least, like, catchy. And so it was at that point where I thought, like, a lot of the music, well, it wasn't necessarily at that point, but, like, Phantom of the Opera kind of pointed a finger to all of the cute musical choices that they were making. It's like, look how clever we are. Oh, look how trendy we are. And it got on my nerves more often than it didn't, unfortunately. And Phantom was one of the biggest culprits that I point to. Is like, that was too much for me.
Mm-hmm.
I can understand
see.
that.
Well, I'm up for whatever they throw at me because they
they
paired
made
it
good
well with whatever
choices,
was going
so.
on screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the best soundtracks to a TV show that I can even think of.
Now, without, and especially contrasted with, Captain Marvel, because it was like all of the music in there. It wasn't like Guardians where it was like a part of the movie. It was more like, hey, we're in the '90s and we're gonna sing girl songs because it's a '90s movie with a girl in it. They could have. There's a more subtle way to make it better, and they missed an opportunity.
True, yeah. I feel like the music in Umbrella Academy is a step above Captain Marvel, but doesn't quite reach the level of the Guardians movies, where the music actually, more than being diegetic, the music was actually like thematically appropriate for the given moment.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Now, I mean. So the only other time that, like, if do you like pina coladas pops into my head is when it's in Dirty Work and there's a bar fight where Norm Macdonald gets beat up really bad with the pool cues, and they're playing "Do You Like Pina Colada?" because Chris Farley hit the wrong buttons, and then of course in Guardians of the Galaxy, you know. But I really like. I'm not like a huge They Might Be Giants fan because some people just like freak out and really dig them, Brady. But
Brady's not even the only person on this
Istanbul
podcast who really likes them.
I think Istanbul was a really cool choice for that fight scene, and it really looked great. So it sounded great, obviously. But that's a tough. That whole like the choices they made work, but it's a tough for me at least. I need to sit and think about like, okay, what are all of these songs like? What's their common thing that like makes it, you know, an Umbrella Academy song as opposed to just like, yeah,
right.
All right. Final thoughts before we wrap up for the night.
They better do a season 2.
Yeah. And you know the thing is, I think that it's big enough that we will get it.
Yeah. Mostly, like, it would just be a shame that we wouldn't get more of number 5.
Oh, he's my favorite.
Yeah, Aidan Gallagher, just outstanding.
I was very impressed
outstanding
with him.
performance. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Oh, yes.
oh, hold on.
Oh
Pogo
my gosh,
sucks.
you buried
Here's why
that.
Pogo sucks.
Yeah, we can get back to that. Why does Pogo suck?
You have to go back to 2007. In 2007, I had seen another sucky thing, Spider-Man 3. And I think that hold on, before we even do that, Steven, you weren't serious about Chumbawamba, right? Like you know it's bad, right? Like you're not really seriously defending like the most one hittiest wonder of all time, right? Like you don't really.
John,
you were just screwing around.
When I
with me, right?
get knocked down, I get up again.
oh,
You ain't never gonna keep me down.
If I told you the sky was blue, you would argue with me that it was green, man.
No, what I will argue with you about is Tub Thumping being a very good song. Because it's very good.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, well, now we're going to 1997 because that Christmas I got that album and that song had been playing non-stop every day on the radio that entire fall. And guess when I got tired of hearing it? November. And my parents were like, "Oh, I know what we'll get him for Christmas. We'll get him the Chub Thumping album." I don't know if I ever listened to it all the way through. I think I got one song past Tub Thumping, and I was like, this is weird. 2007 now. Going to 2007. Spider-Man 3. The Butler gives this whole speech about, like, knowing that the Goblin had been wounded by his own glider. Now, in How It Should Have Ended, they had a real funny part where Harry goes, "Hey, you're fired. You knew this the whole time, and you didn't tell me?" That's great and all, but my buddy Carl came up with that whole rant years before they did a How It Should Have Ended for Spider-Man 3, because he was, like, on his way to work, and we were like, "Hey, did you catch Spider-Man 3 this weekend?" He stopped, dropped everything in his hands, and said, "I'm going to tell you about Spider-Man 3 and what's wrong with it," and he goes on this huge rant because he was so mad. He was like, "What is this Butler, like, moonlight in the glider wound clinic? How do you know that he was killed by his own glider? That's the dumbest thing in the world, and why wouldn't you tell anyone the night it happened?" So, Pogo is the Butler. He knew what was wrong. He knew secrets about their past, and the old man was dead, and he said he made a promise he wouldn't tell, but really, you gotta tell some things, and so Pogo sucks. May he rest in monkey peace.
Fair enough. I mean...
Yeah, I forgot he died.
Yeah, you know who else died? Everybody.
Yeah, I think that's maybe another area where, like, the seams are showing a little bit, but less the seams of, like, the plots of these two disparate stories not quite coming together, right? And more just like I feel like the script needed another once over to make sure that the mystery boxes were properly, like, organized, you know?
Yeah. And I feel like that a lot of times when I watch, like, movies and TV, I'm like, there's real potential here, but, like, man, punch up the script a little bit, because I know that, like, better dialogue is possible. I know that better writing is possible. And, like, maybe they're rushing to get it made before something else like it comes out. Maybe they're just, like, they have a deadline and, like, the money's going to run out. I don't know. There's probably a million reasons, but, man, it wouldn't hurt to give everything just another once-over, because that's what stands out from a good project and a great project.
And I think it is interesting that Umbrella Academy came out around the same time as the Doom Patrol show on the DC Universe app, which I have not seen.
I haven't
but,
seen it either.
like, thematically, they are very similar takes on superheroes. So, just an interesting coincidence there. I don't know if that was intentional or not. My guess is no. But just interesting. That's all.
It's not like Deep Impact and Armageddon coming out the same summer.
Yeah, true.
So.
That's weird.
Or Bug's Life and Ants.
We know what the clear winner was.
Chumbawamba.
Oh, you suck.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have been pissing the night away. But now it is time for us to go and sing the songs that remind us of the good times.
I'm so full of hate.
Sing the songs that remind us of the great times.
Oh,
Boy,
we took a
Johnny
nice
boy,
thing, Umbrella Academy. And
Johnny boy.
Oh man.
Johnny boy.
Oh, I'm going to hurt you. I'm going to go to your wedding reception. I'm going to hide snakes in your car. You won't know that
And then he's gonna hide snakes in your backup car.
Oh, look. They wrote on our mirrors. Oh, vipers! Happy honeymoon.
All right. Well, I think that's it for us this evening. Thank you so much for joining us on the Reviews versus the World podcast. We hope that you've enjoyed the discussion. If you haven't checked it out, and you, for some reason, aren't turned off by all of the spoilers, actually do watch The Umbrella Academy, because I think with all of the spoiler talk that we did have, there are a lot of surprises and a lot of twists that we have not really gone into. And if nothing else, you owe it to yourselves to see Hazel and Cha-Cha. We did not spend nearly
Yeah.
enough time talking about them to have spoiled the entire experience.
Yep. Or we didn't even talk about the organization that Five goes to work
Yeah.
for. That Hazel and
Oh,
Cha-Cha
man.
represent.
Yeah.
So
The handler.
it's like if the Adjustment Bureau were super
Yeah, dude.
bad guys and not just hat-wearing dudes.
Pretty much.
All right, everybody. Hope you have a wonderful month, and we will be back next month with another episode of Reviews versus the World. So tune in then, and be nice and walk your dog.
Love
Call your
each
mother;
other.
she misses you. All right, good night, everybody. Woo!
Love you all.